I have read all of Freida McFadden's 22 book backlog. It's time to rank them. Hi, Katie here, better known as Reading with Katie Louise, and I'm back with another video, and this time we are going to rank Freida McFadden books. So in all honesty, I've just done a bit of a ranking before coming on to film this, and I am shocked to see she has 22 books up to the time of recording, and I have read every single one of them over the past 18 months. So it's time to rank them. So I'm going to rank them from lowest up to highest. So we'll go first with number 22, but let's see. And let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. So first up is novella. So this is my least favourite book, and that is The Gift by Freida McFadden. This is a novella, if you don't know. It is set around Christmas time. It's about 50 pages long. And honestly, I mean, I rated it 3 stars, but I think that was being a little bit generous. I can't even remember fully what it follows, but I just found it a little pointless. I don't think it needed writing. I read it in one sitting, obviously. But it basically follows a woman who is trying to get a gift for Christmas, and there is a bit of a psychological thriller element to it, but I just felt like it could have been written as a book. It just stopped and it was like, well, what happened? So yeah, not my favourite book at all, and is definitely bottom of the ranking for me. The next book in the ranking at number 21, that is Brain Damage. So this follows a woman who is shot in the head and has quite severe brain damage and cannot actually remember what happened and is doing her hardest. It wasn't a bad book. I rated it 3 stars, so it's still not a terrible book, but in my opinion it was not a psychological thriller. There were aspects of it, and yes, I was gasping at the end, which is what gave it the 3 stars for me, but the whole book was just about her trying to remember what was happening, and yeah, I don't know, I just couldn't put my finger on it, and therefore it's definitely my least favourite. It's not a badly written book, but it was the first book in August that I tried to read in her backlog that I hadn't already read, and I just didn't enjoy it. I didn't feel inclined to pick it back up again, and it definitely wasn't for me in terms of being a crime and thriller girly. Next up, at number 20, is The Wife Upstairs. I rated this 3 stars. Now, if I hadn't read another book that was practically the same book, I probably would have enjoyed this. So, if you don't know, there is a bit of controversy around this, and I'm not saying that she has, but it is the same storyline, and it is Verity by Colleen Hoover, and I adored that book. It was the first book that probably got me into Colleen Hoover, alongside It Ends With Us. But The Wife Upstairs follows a woman who is asked to be company for this guy's wife, this woman is paralysed and basically cannot leave her room. Obviously she gets to know her, the woman is trying to tell her something, and basically the thing that she's trying to tell her is not good, and then it becomes a case of who do you believe the husband or the wife, and it's in essence, do you believe the diary or do you believe him? So it's very much which team are you on, and again, if you've read Verity, you will get similar vibes from that, so I think I didn't enjoy it as much because I kind of half saw the ending. It is slightly tweaked, it is not a complete replica, but yeah, it was a bit too similar to a book I'd previously read. Had I not already read that book, it may have been a higher rating. Next up at number 19 is The Surrogate Mother. This again was a 3-star rating. This was just a bit bizarre for me. So it follows a woman who is very close, she's at a baby shower, she's very close to having a baby through a surrogate. That surrogate pulls out at the last minute, and her office assistant offers to be her surrogate. Again, this felt a familiar read. I feel like I've read something very similar to it before, but I cannot, and still cannot to this day, figure out what that book was. Therefore, I'm not rating it based on that comparison. For me, it just got a bit too outrageous and a bit too out there. Again, wasn't terribly written. It is still a 3-star rating, but it just, I don't know, for me, it just didn't quite sit right. And the ending to me was just a bit too bizarre, and therefore I didn't really enjoy it as much as I had some of her other backlog. At number 18 is The Housemaid Is Watching. You may notice I've had an outfit change. This did not record for whatever reason, but that is fine. So yeah, number 18, The Housemaid Is Watching. I rated this 3 stars. It was one book too many in the series to me. It was not necessary. I guess the plot twist was half of it, so I was a little bit disappointed. It still wasn't terrible, hence the rating, but I just think Freida did one too many books, and I am aware that there's a novella coming. I'm not sure how I feel about that right now, but yeah. Quick and easy review. If you don't know, it follows Millie but several years on, and yeah, basically she's no longer the housemaid, but she gets in a housemaid and they think the housemaid is not all that she seems, but yeah, not in love with this book, unfortunately, but yeah. Next up in my ranking at number 17 is The Ex. So this follows the point of view of the ex and the current girlfriend. The ex is not actually named, and yeah, it just follows the point of view of both. The ex is extremely jealous that the guy has got a new girlfriend, and yeah, I actually rated this 4 stars, so we are into the 4-star rating, guys. So this just shows the kind of books, in my opinion, that Freida writes, because we are now at number 17 and that we are at 4-star reads. So I enjoyed this. It was a quick and easy read. Just didn't quite have me hooked enough for a 5-star. However, still absolutely recommend it. It was a quick and easy read, as are most of her books. But yeah, the point of view, like, it was so well written that you wouldn't guess the plot twist. It seemed really obvious, and I think that's really good with Freida's work, because she's always really obvious and you just don't know, and I think that's what I love about her books. But yeah, so The Ex, definitely one of my least favourite 4-star reads, but still a really good and definite recommend. And we're on to number 16, and that is Do You Remember? So this follows a woman who wakes up every single day and she cannot remember. So at the beginning of the book, she wakes up and she is not sure who she is in bed with. The last thing she remembers is being with her fiancé at the time, who is now no longer her fiancé, and she is married to somebody else. This happens every single day. She tries to remember what is going on, and yeah, very repetitive, which is why it wasn't a 5-star, but that is the point of the book. But it just, for me, got a bit too repetitive. Probably could have been a little bit shorter on the waking up every day and forgetting. But nonetheless, I did not guess the plot twist, and the drama in this was really good. Again, not the best 4-star I've ever read, not the most memorable, but again, absolute recommend, and definitely something different, although I have since picked up another book like that. But because I've read Freida first, it has to get a fair rating, and that was a 4-star rating for Do You Remember? At number 15, we have The Perfect Son. We are now into some of the books that I actually own in paperback. I actually rated this 4 stars at the time, but I'm now thinking even filming this video, I maybe should have rated it a little bit lower. Basically, I'm going to have to read you the blurb because I cannot remember what happened in this book. So I'm starting to think maybe it should have been rated a bit lower, but nonetheless, I own it in paperback, which probably means I really enjoyed it at the time. Eric Cass has a perfect family and a perfect life until the evening when 2 detectives show up at her front door. A high school girl has vanished from Erica's quiet suburban neighbourhood. The police suspect the worst, murder. And Erica's teenage son was the last person to see her alive. That was it. So I did really, really enjoy this book. It wasn't what I expected, and yeah, it was just generally an enjoyable read. Plot twists, as always, were really good. And yeah, you are really rooting for the character in this book as well. The characters are well written. It's taken me a while to refresh my memory. I did read this about 2-3 years ago, probably at this point now. Definitely one of the first books I read by Freida, and obviously now the paperbacks are slowly coming out, but at the time she was just a Kindle Unlimited author. But yeah, that is number 15 on my list. On to number 14 now, and that is One by One. So this follows a group of 6 friends who are like coupled up and are on a bit of a night out. They get lost. I say a night out like camping night out. They get lost, and it's basically an attempt to find somewhere safe to stay, and one by one they all start unaliving or being unalived. This is a really short book, and I did rate it 4 stars. However, it's still not one of my favourites of hers. It was still good. I didn't guess the plot twist. To be honest with you, this was a 3-star until the plot twist came out. But yeah, it's still an enjoyable read, and one of her short ones. Freida is really good at writing short and snappy thrillers, and are really good for like reading slumps and things. But yeah, so I didn't see the plot twist come in, and it definitely had the drama at the end that had me wanting to finish this book so much. So that is number 14 on the list. On to number 13 now, and that is Want to Know a Secret. This was actually one of the last books of hers that I read in the backlog towards the end of August, and it follows a YouTube chef who is trying to make a living on that, and is also going to the care home to do it with her mum, who has a bit of dementia. She starts getting texts going, I know where your son is, and he's not in the back garden. Someone is definitely messing with her. I found this really quick and easy to read and loved the concept of it. It was another 4-star read for me, and I think because it's so highly ranked in my ranking, because I've read it recently, so I obviously remember what can happen. Again, the twists and turns, and like the epilogue in this was whoa. Like, you thought you'd had all the plot twists? No. It was still going in the epilogue. So that is definitely why I have to recommend you this one. But yeah, that is why that one sits where it does in the ranking. Up to number 12 now, and we are on to Do Not Disturb. So this follows a woman who takes refuge in a hotel after running away from something, and a lot of strange and creepy things happen. I again rated this 4 stars. I think I read this pretty quickly, probably in about a day or two, and just found it so enjoyable, so twisty, so quick paced. You can see the theme here going with Freida's books, but they were just so enjoyable. Honestly did not see the plot twist coming, as always. But yeah, that is a quick and easy one to talk about. It just basically surrounds her in the hotel room and her trying to find her escape, but as always, weather always has an impact in that. But that is number 12. So at number 11 and just outside the top 10 is The Teacher. So I am a trainee teacher, and honestly, I rated this 4 stars. It wasn't a bad read, but some aspects of this which I think have caused a lot of controversy is around the theme of this book. It just, it follows a student and teacher who basically appear to be up to no good, and it just gets messy. I ummed and ahed about whether to rate this 4 stars, but I do think the plot twist did value the give it the reason for 4 stars. But yeah, I think, it's hard to explain. It's very controversial, but I enjoyed it, and obviously a lot of people can have different opinions, but it does have a bit of ick because it is a student and teacher kind of relationship, and obviously that is something that, especially in the teaching world, is very, very, very frowned upon, and it is hard to read. But I think because I'm a teacher, I don't know, maybe that's why I enjoyed it more, but it was still a really good thriller. Just comes with the warning of be aware about the theme of the book. We are into the top 10 now, and this is a bit of a red herring. So in all honesty, I had completely forgotten to rank this book when I was putting it in, and that is The Boyfriend by Freida McFadden. So this only released at the beginning of October, and I did not intend to include it in my backlog. Also controversial, even though it's in the top 10, I rated it 3 stars. So again, I'm going to be honest with you, I forgot to put it in the ranking and put one book in twice. However, I would recommend this book to people who have not read 100 crime and thrillers. The plot twist in this puts it in the top 10. However, the rest of it was pants in my opinion. I didn't really see the point of it. I was just kind of hoping they got on with it. The only reason I put it in the top 10 is because of the plot twist. The plot twist is probably one of the best plot twists I've read. My jaw was on the floor and I was practically screaming at the book. That is the only reason it has ended up in the top 10. I think the rest of it was a little bit pointless, so it is a bit weird that it sits where it does. But this is one book that really had me unsure on what to rank it, so it's not, as much as it's a 3 star in the barrel of the books, I'm still thinking about the plot twist in this book. So it follows a boyfriend, and it follows a series of female characters, and basically a woman turns up unalived, and her friend is trying to solve it, and she also meets a new guy while being on a dating app, all in between. It goes from who we think has done it at the beginning, from his point of view before all the present day happened, and what happened to him leading up to it. So there is a lot going on. Again, I personally rated it 3 stars, but I would actually still recommend it to particularly new crime and thriller readers. So on to number 9 in the ranking, and this was the last one I actually finished, and I finished this in October, and that was Dead Med. If you haven't seen, this did used to be called Suicide Med, and Freida has basically re-released it and corrected a few errors because it was one she wrote many years ago. I rated this 4 stars and really enjoyed it. I have seen so many varied reviews on this, I don't even know sort of where to go. It follows a bunch of students, so there are 6 points of view, so it's from some of the teachers there, it's from some of the students, and basically it leads to so many events happening, but the college is known for a drug problem and they're trying to figure out what's going on. So you have all the points of view going on, but it's from one single point of view every so often. So instead of constantly changing it, it goes 1, 2, 3, and it's in 6 parts. I really enjoyed it about that. I felt so inclined to keep picking this up. I have been slumping while I've been working, and I struggle to read during the week because I'm so tired. However, I really, really enjoy reading this to the point that all I wanted to do was read it. I got back into reading before I went to work again, which I haven't done in so long. So it's definitely a high 4 star, and actually sits near the top of my 4 star rankings. On to number 8 now, and this is a novella that she actually released at the end of August, and that is The Widow's Husband's Secret Lie. I rated this 4 stars. I have seen so many people hate on this book, and from my opinion, I don't know if it's a misunderstanding about what the book is about. So it's only 124 pages. I found it hilarious. It was so out there, it was unreal. It was not Freida's usual type of writing, and I think that's what I loved about it. It was a satirical novella, so not necessarily a psychological thriller, but I saw it, it was 124 pages, and I thought, why not? And I was laughing, it was so out there, so bizarre, and it just ended even more bizarre, like a bit too bizarre, but I think I found it funny. The way the characters were written, the stupidity of one of the characters had me howling. Like, she took a COVID test and thought she was pregnant. That is the kind of thing you are dealing with in this book, and honestly, it was absolutely hilarious, and I really would recommend it, but just don't think of it as a psychological thriller. It was definitely a nice, light, quick and easy read for the amount of books that I read in August and September. On to number 7 now, and that is The Inmate. This is still a 4-star rating, but is very much at the top of my 4 stars. It's a very, very high 4 star. This follows a nurse who joins a prison, and basically she meets someone from her past, and yeah, it just becomes a bit of a tale of drama. She obviously becomes friendly with an inmate because yeah, she knows him from his past, and yeah, he knows things that she doesn't want people to know. I really enjoyed this, inhaled this quickly. I've actually read all of these on my Kindle as much as I own them in paperback, but it was such a quick and easy read, and the twist again I did not see coming, and was definitely my probably best 4-star rating. On to number 6 now, and that is The Housemaid's Secret. This is the first 5-star of the next few books, but this was a low 5-star for me. I actually thought I'd rated it 4 stars when I talked to people about it, so this is the second in the Housemaid series. It follows Millie again, but it follows her taking on a new job. She suspects that that the wife of the guy that she is being a housemaid for is being mistreated, and yeah, it just follows so many things. I'm not going to ruin it for you, but it was a really, really good read. Sorry. And I definitely loved the way this ended. The plot twist again was still amazing, so I obviously enjoyed it to rate it 5 stars. Definitely wasn't as good as The Housemaid, which you can tell by the fact it ranks lower, but I honestly thought this was the perfect way to end the series. Obviously did not expect a 3rd book to come out, but yeah, that is why I rated that one 5 stars. Next up, and at number 5, is Ward D. Again, a 5-star read. Inhaled this really quickly. It follows 2 students who go in as part of their rotation and have to do it in a psychiatric ward. A lot of strange things start happening at night. There's some very strange patients in there. One person is cool as a cucumber about it, the other one is absolutely freaked out. This gets dramatic. I was on the edge of my seat for the last 40% of this book. I found it so gripping, so thrilling, and honestly a little bit creepy, but I loved that about the book. I really, really enjoyed it. It was one I read in my earlier days reading Freida McFadden, and it absolutely deserved its 5-star rating. But oh my goodness, did this pack a punch. And yeah, just an absolute fabulous read. Next up, and at number 4, is The Co-Worker. This is very controversial. I rated it 5 stars. Honestly, I was sat in somebody's live over on TikTok when I finished this, and he wouldn't go off live until he saw my response, because honestly, the second part of this book was phenomenal. A lot of people dislike it because of the mention of turtles, so I'm going to put that straight out there. There are a lot of facts about turtles, but I don't, in my opinion, think it ruins the outcome. So it follows 2 women, and there's an office obviously full of secrets, just standard. One of the co-workers goes missing, and she actually winds up very, very much unalived in her house when her friend goes around to try and find her because she hasn't shown up to work. This co-worker that hasn't shown up is always on time, always extremely organised, and yeah. It then follows obviously trying to solve her unaliving, and part 2. Part 2, that is all I'm going to say to you. This was wow. Again, it's a controversial opinion. A lot of people really disliked this book and are certainly disliking a lot of her backlog, but nonetheless, I really enjoyed this one. We have made it to the top 3. So, number 3 is The Housemaid by Freida McFadden. This was actually the first book I picked up by her based on a recommendation from somebody at work, and obviously she has since become a BookTok famous author. I still rated this 5 stars. Quick and easy read, and it made me fall in love with Freida. It follows Millie, who takes on a job as a housemaid, and she finds a room that only locks from the outside, and she finds that very, very bizarre. She tries to find out what is going on, and of course she gets herself in trouble. The twist you do not see coming, and the girl power in this. Yes, I fell in love with Millie in this book, and yeah, Honestly, if you don't know, this is coming out in a film or like some sort of making it into real life. We haven't had a date confirmed for that yet, but I am super excited to the point that I'm dragging my other half to see it because he won't read books, but he'll watch stuff like this. But yeah, definite recommend it. And I would recommend you start with this one if you are starting in your Freida McFadden journey. Number 2 in the ranking is The Locked Door. So I did this as a buddy read with my friend. We both love Freida McFadden and said that we should do a buddy read, and we did pick The Locked Door. We read this on a Sunday. We read it all in one fell swoop, and it was 5 stars in my opinion. Again, I've seen a lot of mixed reviews about this. Basically, it follows Nora, who is a bit suspicious about the locked door in her house. She knows her dad is going down there to do something, and there is a series of unalivings going on, and they just don't know where it's coming from, and Nora has her suspicions. This was wow. Again, I didn't want to put it down. I actually read it with her on a video call for absolutely ages and just did not want it to stop. And we were just so happy to read it together. We read at the same speed, which is very rare, and we just loved this. It was an absolute read. And second, as much as I tell you to start on The Housemaid, if you don't want to get into a series, this one and the one that's coming at number 1. So we are at number 1. If you are a Freida fan, you will already have figured out which book is number 1 based on what is missing from the list, and it is quite a well-known book of hers anyway, but if you haven't guessed it, it is Never Lie. I love this book, and to this day I've always said it is my favourite book, and alongside The Housemaid is the one I will always recommend. Another 5-star read, obviously. This follows 2 people who go to visit a house and they get stuck in a snowstorm, and the woman who is meant to come up and show them the house doesn't show up. So they decide to look around the house anyway, and it is the house of an old doctor, like psychiatrist, and basically they start finding things. They find a load of tapes with initials and listen to them, but not all is as it seems. It gets dramatic. I loved this book so much, and honestly I will not stop hyping about this book. You need to pick this up. Again, they are all short and easy to read. They're all available on Kindle Unlimited, guys. You've got to read them. But yeah, that is definitely my all-time favourite Freida McFadden book. So there it is. That is my very quick fire ranking of Freida McFadden books. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of them, if you would change the ranking in your opinion. And yeah, I'm so glad I've read them all. I am aware she's got a novella coming out at the end of November, so obviously I'll be picking that up at the time. Where it will sit in the ranking, who knows? But that is my ranking. Thank you again for joining me for yet another video over on BookTube, and as always, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Lots of love!